Hello, everyone. Blue Star Saber here with
LuckyRave.
yes, and we're here to discuss One Piece, though not a chapter, a discussion. A discussion technically for Valentine's Day, but technically we're a day late. But nevertheless, it's the month of love, Valentine's, and we decided to discuss perhaps one of the most controversial topics to discuss on the internet, at least in terms of fandoms,
I mean,
shipping.
is it controversial though?
Well, I guess it depends on the fandom. And to be fair, this is probably one of the few fandoms that may not get too obsessed over the subject.
To a degree. Yeah.
But yeah, I think power levels and power levels are something that are more is a discussion really, such as Yonko versus Admirals. But anyway, we're not here to discuss that. We're here to discuss who will Luffy end up with. One thing that One Piece is, One Piece, arguably one of the longest manga series to ever live, and arguably also the best-selling manga of all time. It's what the West calls part of the Big Three. It has had a long, successful journey, outlasting, of course, its fellow peers and even the generation that came after. And still ongoing today.
Well, I mean, you have to look at it this way. Did you really expect Naruto and Bleach to last as long as One Piece?
Arguably, no. And we've got a little comment. Let's see from someone. Hello, Spaces is joining us. So,
How's it going, Space?
Let's see. But yeah, but basically, One Piece has been doing, in some ways quite well, and perhaps maybe better than the mangas. Arguably, maybe because it never really got into the shipping controversy. But even though One Piece may never have gotten into that kind of controversy, it at the very least did have ships. And one of the main discussions is like, who would Luffy end up with? Some think it's pretty obvious. Some think it's not. Others think it's not going to happen at all for reasons we'll get to a bit later. But in terms of like all the girls that Luffy's interacted with, I have selected 5 that are likely to be Luffy's Luffy's love interest, or at least the girl that Luffy will end up with if he
You're
gets
picking
up
5?
to all.
Dang.
Yes.
I've listed mine down to just 3.
Well, arguably that would probably be the case, but I figured there are at least 2 that are at least worth considering. Even how likely? Unlikely. Let's see. Space saying first time being in a One Piece stream, but I see a Valentine special and I click it. Fair enough. Well, I'm not sure if this would be the stream to convince you to read One Piece, but let's see.
I mean, look, better reading than watching, because God knows if you were to start One Piece today, who knows how long it would take for you to catch up. I mean, and I'm only speaking this because I've been talking to Kentucky for a while, and he's been watching that. So,
yeah. Let's see. Anyway, 5 spaces. 5. That's crazy. I haven't seen that many for the 2 main characters, for Naruto and Ichigo. Well, to be fair, One Piece has lasted much longer. So anyway, now that I've gotten that about, let's see. I'm going to share the 5 that I'm considering. Let's see now. Share screen. And here are the 5. Rebecca from the Dressrosa arc, Shirahoshi, the Mermaid Princess from Fisherman Island arc, Vivi, from the Baroque Works Saga, Princess of Alabasta, Boa Hancock, the Pirate Empress and one of the 7 warlords, from Amazon Lily arc, and of course, the Straw Hats Navigator, Nami. These are the 5 girls that we will end up discussing, LuckyRave, to determine which ones are what are their odds of ending up with Luffy or not.
There's only 2 of those on those lists that I can even see remotely happening. The other 3, shaped.
Well, yeah, arguably true, but I figured that at least they're worth considering. But anyway, before we get that, there are at least a few I would like to also discuss like those that weren't picked. A few of them like some might consider, such as Sanji's sister Renji from Whole Cake Island, and Nico.
Really?
All right, you got it. Okay.
Huh.
Comment. Let's see. If Space, I'm not surprised you even talk about 5 and not the obvious 2. Fair enough. Fair enough. But yeah, arguably, I figured 5 would be more interesting as a stream. But yeah. But I don't know. The reason I picked Renji is arguably because there seemed to be at least a bit of interaction, and the fact that she did technically kiss Luffy, even though that was technically to extract poison. So arguably, while that might be a bit of an interesting clickbait for shippers, I definitely say it's not enough to
Man, someone's been hanging around the My Hero fandom for a while. Sounds like that. It's like that excuse.
Really, let's see which fandom are they talking? Which really, what discussion have you been seeing, LuckyRave? I'm curious.
Well, let's see here. Well, you got the obvious 2 with Izuku Ochiko, Bakugo, Izuku. What else was there? Izuku Tsuyu, like those.
I take it there've been debates that fact that no one's kissed that not means they're not official or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Fair enough. And
okay, Tsuyu early on was a definite contender for sure, but
Let's see. Space says, I guess later on we'll talk about Luffy probably being asexual or something like that. We'll get to that, but
which Oda never stated. I want to address that right now. He's never stated that. That's always been a fan discussion.
Okay, but yeah. Sorry, what was that before you said that, Lucky?
I was just saying that the whole asexual part, Oda's never actually admitted that. That's only just been something fans have said.
No, not that. Before I showed that comment with the My Hero stuff.
I have to repeat it again. With like Izuku Ochiko, Bakugo Izuku, Tsuyu Izuku.
Yeah, I mentioned, and I was saying a comment about the fact that they never you never got kissed. What did you say after that?
I was just saying that, like, okay, Tsuyu, like, super early in the My Hero, possibility was there. I'll give it that.
All right. Fair enough. Anyway, another comment from Space saying the My Hero only open to Hellgator ship's cough, the giant fox scale cough. Okay. Let's see. Anyway, but as for the other, those that weren't picked, I was like the other one, Nico Robin, even though you had like an entire saga, which was arguably probably One Piece's best saga of rescuing her, let's see, from the world government. The reason I don't consider that is because I think Luffy and Robin have a more of like a either big sister or mother-son like relationship.
That's what I was gonna say. Is that like they have more of like a sibling / parental son vibe going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that is basically the reasons why they ain't picked. But anyway, now that we've gotten that out of the way, we're here to discuss. Let's see. We can now stick with the one I think is least likely to end up with Luffy, and that is, let's see, Rebecca.
Interesting.
Now, we'll get to. Let's see. There we go. We'll get to this here. Rebecca, of course, the princess from Dressrosa, which Luffy met at the Colosseum, where it turns out that she is the granddaughter of the deposed king. Let's see, King Riku, and is forced to fight in the gladiator pit in order to survive, as the entire kingdom hates her. Let's see, she befriends Luffy after he beats a gladiator that usually bullied her in there, if you will. So as a result, let's see, she became friendly with him. Even bought him a bunch of lunch, which, for as we know with Luffy, you get him food, you get a friend for life. Granted, she was determined to kill Doflamingo, and wary of Luffy's skill, didn't think that she would be able to win if he participated in the final matchups to get the flame fruit. She was persuaded by the other gladiators that supported her, try and kill him, but Luffy, of course, easily dispatched her and just did not really hold it against her. And she went on to compete in her tournament, which Luffy saw how the crowd booed against her. And as a result, Luffy started becoming quite arguably one of the few that supported her, rooting her on. And whenever someone like Cavendish got in the way, or as Cabbage, as Luffy likes to refer to, said, "Get out of the way, I want to see Rebecca," if you will. And then, of course, down the line, after Doflamingo's lies were exposed, Luffy promised to not only kick Doflamingo's butt, but make sure that her father, Kyros, would end up surviving. As a result, a bit of a long battle in Dressrosa, Luffy was able to fulfill those promises, and Luffy had one last task of making sure Rebecca reunited with her father. And that it seemed to be the end of that, but Rebecca has remained a very avid, enthusiastic supporter of Luffy, seemingly as we've seen throughout many of the sort of arcs which were building up to Levely, of her reading the newspapers and being impressed by his growth and development, if you will. In fact, she was so enthusiastic, she wished to talk with Luffy the most, to Kobe, and then later the other princesses on this list when they were at Levely. Now, while there's now let's see. Now we've seen that's the history of Rebecca with Luffy and all that stuff. Let's see. Arguably, while it's nice for build up a friendship, I don't think it's enough for a ship. And I assume you would agree with that, Lucky.
Definitely.
Let's see, we've got a few comments here. Let's see, saying, it always ends up being the two most obvious girls with the big three main characters. Yes, we'll get to that in a sec. But yeah. Let's see. Biggest downside. Let's see, biggest thing against it is that Rebecca is mostly just Space saying, I can kind of see the potential, but she seems to be more of a big support than anything.
I agree with that.
Arguably, the fact that she is appearing a bit frequently, and even was one of those that didn't actually believe that Luffy kidnapped or murdered Vegapunk. Let's see, even when Leo, being a dwarf, is gullible enough to believe it. Let's see, and all that stuff. I think it's, of course, she remains just a supporter. Granted, she might be playing a bit of a role down eventually at some point in the final saga, but I feel of all the princesses, or princess figure characters, she is the least important. Let's see, she probably will play a role somehow, maybe even inspiring others to trust Luffy when the time comes, but I don't think, she is going to be Luffy's main, love interest. If anything, people are shipping her with Kobe.
I could see. Well, see, Kobe's a weird one. And there's also oh my god, what am I blanking on her name?
Hibari.
Hibari, yeah, her.
Yeah, a member of Sword introduced into the final saga, which One Piece fans theorize might be Akaino's daughter in some ways.
Would not be surprised in the slightest that's what happens.
Let's see, which arguably would be a bit funny since Akainu did try to kill Kobe. Let's see, it's you trying to steal my daughter? But who knows, which, to be fair, the voice actor of Akainu did play a sort of protective father in that regards, I think, for, what was that manga? You know, with the two gangster children, Lucky Chi?
Gangster children.
It's Fake Lovers or something?
Oh, Nisekoi?
Yeah, Nisekoi.
That one, yeah, I could see that.
So, who knows? So it might be possible, but I do see why some people ship Rebecca with Kobe, because they're both pink hair, and arguably Kobe is Luffy's first fanboy.
Like that answer, because they both have pink hair too. That's the same reasoning of shipping Naruto with Ino. Well, it's because they have blonde hair.
Yeah, but that is basically why some people do it. But oh no, people get their ritzy, ridiculous reasons. So that is just mainly the reason why Rebecca is chosen. But it's time for possibly the next choice, which I think has more of a shot than Rebecca, but I'm not entirely convinced that's where the route Oda's taking, and that is none other than the mermaid princess Shirahoshi.
I'm even surprised you consider her her a contender too.
It's more of the jokes about, let's see, she goes like, "You're not my type," and people say, "Oh, her type's Luffy," if you will. But yeah, the Shirahoshi, regarded as, let's see, possibly the only woman in the world that is more beautiful than the pirate empress Boa Hancock. Let's see, basically, basically been trapped in, like, for most of 10 years of her life due to the fact that the pirate let's see, at the age of 6, when Vanderdecken, let's see, wanted to marry her for her power to control the Sea Kings. She's also, of course, like the ancient weapon Poseidon, which has the ability to control, of course, these mighty sea beasts that can destroy an island. Basically, that kind of stuff. She ended up, let's see, meeting Luffy after he was invited into, like, the Ryuga Kingdom's palace after saving her beloved pet shark Milago and all that stuff. At first, Luffy didn't. Let's see, Rebecca didn't know who Luffy was, so it was all bit of a crybaby about it. But when Luffy saved her from, like, one of Vandecken's target on axes, she protected him from, like, the guards entering when they were reporting that they now had to arrest the Straw Hats due to various allegations that were aimed against them at the time. She didn't really seem to think that Luffy was a bad guy and was a bit curious about him, though Luffy did get annoyed at her when she poked his cheeks and then called her too much of a crybaby and said, "I don't like you," much to her dismay, as that's the first time anyone yelled at her and all that kind of stuff. But Luffy decided that, okay, and you need to go outside, and offered to take her to the place she wanted to go the most, which was her mother's grave. And he was able to protect her throughout Vanderdecken's ruthless attacks, especially when she rejected him by saying, "You're just not my type," which was arguably the most funniest rejection ever. Let's be honest, Lucky. So after, like, Luffy ended up, saving her family and stopping, like, the Noah from crashing into Fishman Island, she seemed to, like, really came to trust and befriend Luffy. Upset that he was going, but made a promise with Luffy to see each other again. And as a result, has been trying to become a bit more braver as time goes on. As she did want to impress Luffy, end up talking highly about Luffy with the fellow princesses at the Levely. And even befriending Luffy's grandfather, who was the escort for the Neptune family. At the moment, we haven't seen again, but she's very likely to play a role of meeting Luffy again, given the fact that she is the current incarnation. And I'm afraid LuckyRave has just disappeared, so we are on a bit of standby here. But hopefully he'll be showing up soon. Private chat saying tell me to keep going, so I will keep going. So but yeah, so Luffy is basically so Shirahoshi being the current incarnation of the ancient weapon Poseidon, and Luffy being arguably the one to inherit Joe Boy's will, if you will. Will probably play a role in whatever the ancient weapon Poseidon was supposed to play, which involves the Noah Ark and the Sea Kings. Arguably, which, if I'm theorizing, is to help guide the ship Noah across the world, saving people when the world floods from the world government's plans, or particularly possibly one of the final antagonists, to sink the whole world into the ocean. So that is basically what I think. That's basically why I think that there's maybe some possible hints in there, but it's more of a plot reason. Lucky is giving me another plot. Oh, he's back. LuckyRave. I've just finished basically saying why Luffy and Shirahoshi are likely to meet again, and that is, of course, for some very plot reasons of her being the new Poseidon and Luffy being the new Joe Boy, in which her commanding the Sea Kings. Under Luffy's guidance to probably save many people from the world sinking.
Well, yeah, I think I think for sure will happen. Now, is that enough to dictate that you're going to get a romance between the two of them? I'm going to say no.
Let's see. Space Assassin. So why is Shirahoshi higher than the last place? Arguably, it's because I think Shirahoshi has a bit more of a story role to play. Let's see. It's mostly that. So I think Luffy's going to have at least some more interactions with Shirahoshi to to fulfill Fishman Island's purpose in the final conflict and bring the dawn, if you will, which is arguably save humanity, which hopefully will resolve the conflict between fishmen and humans, which have been set up in One Piece. Now, granted, while I think that they're going to be very deep friends, I do, of course, like I said, it's not enough to really build a romance. Let's see, which you would, of course, agree, Lucky, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Granted, whether or not, she'll play her role sooner, who knows? The only reason I can think that they might interact sooner is because there's a certain character that Karibo knows the fact that Shirahoshi is an ancient weapon and is about to tell Blackbeard where he can find two of them. Her among them. So it might be involving a kidnapping that might involve Luffy to rescue her, but we'll have to wait and see in that regards. Anyway, the third one is arguably the one that sort of now actually has a sort of chance of possibly happening.
I'll tell you this: your number 3 is my number 2.
Yeah. So that is actually kind of interesting. So, the third one, which is for me, but number 2 for Lucky, is none other than the Alabasta Princess. Vivi.
You got that right.
Let's see, Princess of Alabasta, the temporary straw hat, if you will.
Excuse me? What do you mean temporary?
Well, she was a straw hat, but then left. Though technically,
she is going to come back, though. So
yeah, okay, we'll get into that. We've got a comment from Space saying, the rare third lunch of interest for a main character. Arguably, that yes, unless you count Black Clover. But anyway,
Black Clover's a weird one. That's a super weird one.
Yeah, Black Clover is unique in some ways, but anyway, let's see. When we're first introduced to Princess Vivi, we didn't actually even know she was a princess. In fact, she was actually an enemy that the Straw Hats encountered, maybe granted a comedic enemy. Miss Wednesday, who was partnered with Mr. Nine, who was trying to hunt down a giant whale. Luffy, of course, knocked them out, and they took him to a island, which was at first friendly and greeting, but was actually a bunch of bounty hunters trying to capture them all. And during then, it was revealed that from higher operatives amongst Crocodile's top 5 is that Vivi was actually a spy undercover to try and discover the mastermind behind Baroque Works, who has been undermining her country. Had been undercover for 2 years, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
After her friends in Baroque Works sacrificed themselves to save them. Now, granted, they did not really die, of course. And her fellow Alabasta, her member of Alabasta, Igram, who was thought to be dead, but then later turned out to survive. With all of them gone, she had no choice but to turn to the Straw Hats for help, who she revealed to them that Crocodile is the mastermind, one of the 7 warlords, getting them involved in the journey to help save her people. And arguably, as a result, the reason why she has a better chance than most is because the other 2 is because she's actually spent time traveling with the Straw Hats, be it on Little Garden, meeting the Giants, who we are currently in the arc about the Giants, Elbaf. So she would possibly rejoin the Straw Hats during that arc. Drama Island, in which was a stop by because Nami ended up being sick, and as a result, they needed her navigation skills to get to Alabasta. And of course, eventually Alabasta itself, where the Straw Hats went to try and help her stop her people from having a civil war, as Crocodile was manipulating the rebels and the kingdom to fight each other as a result of a conflict over the lack of rain and the resources as he framed the king of Alabasta has been hogging all the rain into the capital, if you will, causing a civil war. Which arguably the largest country in One Piece, given the fact that, let's see, the total forces combined of both the rebels and the kingdom added to like 1 million, which is arguably the biggest number of forces we've ever seen in One Piece. So yeah, quite the devastating civil war. Anyway, as that was going on, you see Vivi bonding with a Straw Hat, and even you wonder if she's going to end up joining. Eventually, the Straw Hats, and particularly Luffy, are able to stop Crocodile, but she in the end chooses to stay in her kingdom to help one day rule it and help them rebuild. But Ritzy always wants to consider the Straw Hats friends, and of course you get that touching X mark salute, if you will, at the end, LuckyRave, which is one of your favorite moments in One Piece, if I recall.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. And
if I remember correctly, that's been like, what, for me? Damn, 20 years? Shh. It's been that long,
Yeah. So arguably a very touching farewell, but even still to this day, the Straw Hats, let's see, at least the ones that were there at the time, that met Vivi, still miss her.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Except for Zoro.
Well, and I mean, look, here's the other thing. The other reason why I say she's going to be the next member, the X, Roman numerals, 10. Come on.
Oh, yes. Arguably, that is one reason. At the very least, we sometimes see her again, keeping up to date with the Straw Hats and what they're doing. As one of the ones to figure out that Luffy is up to something when he rang the Golden Bell.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, though granted, she does not know what it is since she does not quite get the symbol that was on Luffy's side. But nevertheless, knew Luffy well enough to that Luffy always does something with a reason. And you can of course still see that within leading up to the Levelly and befriending all those that befriended Luffy. And even trusting Garp as for protection over any other world government agent when Shirahoshi was nearly tried to be kidnapped by Charlos. Well, Saint Charlos, the spoiled world noble that Luffy punched. So you got that. Eventually, Vivi ended up reported missing as her father was killed by the world government, and she was then taken into custody before escaping due to the actions of Wapple, a former enemy of hers, if you will, ironically, and now is currently at the news coup with Big News Morgans, who is currently clashing with him quite often over his propaganda portrayal of Luffy being the bad guy.
I love their dynamic. Their dynamic always gets me.
Oh, yeah, it is brilliant. It is brilliant. Let's see. It'll almost be a shame that when she does leave that we won't get to see it that often, but nevertheless, the story goes on.
It is what it is.
Now, the biggest reason I think Vivi has a very good shot with Luffy is due to some of the thematic tie-ins that we've just been learning, particularly in the Egghead, Egghead arc, if you will.
Yes.
We always knew that Vivi was going to play a bit of a role down the line later. And that became a bit obvious when we at first learned in the Dressrosa Act, among the 20 families that went to the Holy Land of Marijua up on the top of the Red Line, one of the founding 20 families of the world government was actually the Nefertari family, but they chose to stay down on the surface, basically refusing to become world nobles, which I think was a bit of a surprise at the time, but nevertheless, it gave us hints that, okay, the Nefertari family is going to play a role down the line, not to mention they guarded the poneglyph that led to the location of the ancient weapon Pluton. So there's clearly some history of okay, it seems like on one hand, they're part of the 20 kingdoms, but on one hand, they've been trusted to guard the poneglyph that would lead to Pluton, which was arguably the poneglyphs created by the ancient Great Kingdom that was enemies of the world government, if you will, before they were the world government. But what really sort of solidify it is the stuff that we've learned with an Egghead about the Nefertari family and possibly the final antagonist, Emu, is the fact that the founder.
Oh, possible? No, I think that's definite. I think Emu's definitely going to be the final antagonist.
Oh yeah, I definitely say.
Forget possible. That's definite.
Oh yeah, but that is a stream for another day.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, but that's a stream for another day. But it's revealed that let's see during the when King Cobra went to discuss with the five elders, trying to learn all he can about the Void Century. We later learned that Nefertari D. Lily, the queen and one of the founding members of the world government, was actually a member of the D clan, meaning that Vivi and Cobra are actually also members of the D clan, the same as Luffy. Now, granted, the D clan is not technically necessarily blood related, but there's a strong connection between D members at the very least.
Yep.
What that connection is remains to be revealed, but there are a few guesses and theories at the very least. But also the fact that as a result of, we also learned that Emu appears to have a bit of an obsession with Lily and now desires, of course, Vivi. And as a result, seemingly, as many people are theorizing, guessing, there might have been some sort of love triangle at least, or at least some sort of, like, at the very least, Emu desired Lily, but she rejected him and chose Joey Boy in the end. And that it seems like history, of course, is now playing out, as Emu probably now wants to have Vivi fulfill that role, but Luffy, being the new Joe Boy, may end up being the one to, of course, if you will, protect Vivi and, if you could argue, win the heart and all that stuff. That is basically some of the aspects of it, if you will, at least, unless there's something else you think I've left out.
No, I think you're pretty spot on about that, and honestly, that's really why Vivi for me is like my number 2 pick, in that list. Though, and I know I've stated this before on my own podcast, which we're gonna post up, but I find it super fascinating that when we meet Vivi, she's on the run, and someone's after, which is like Baroque works, right? And now, like again, you have that famous quote from George Lucas of it's like poetry at rhymes, right?
Yeah.
Vivi's on the run again, and this time it's on a much bigger scale than where it was before.
Oh yeah, because now it's like she's now hunted by the world government. Anyway, as Space says, well, why did you say that now Vivi's more of a potential love interest? Well, hopefully we have given you this answer of what we discuss. The only thing that I'd say that might not, mean that Luffy and Vivi, I'd say, get together is the fact that Vivi is likely going to be one of the rulers that helps set up probably what is going to be the new world government, or new sort of governing. Let's see. Number 2, who do you put above Vivi above then? Nami and Boa. I'll get to that in a second. But so arguably, so like I said, Vivi is likely to be one of the world leaders, and even though I think she's going to rejoin the Straw Hats, I don't think it's going to be a permanent position, to be honest, as I think, at the very least, it's going to be in the final war, and then afterwards she's probably going to return to Alabasta as its queen, at the very least, and play a part in, like, the new sort of world government, or whatever government you have for the world after, like, the Celestial Dragons have been defeated. So that's basically what I think is going to happen there. But who knows? Would there be enough to spark a romance between Luffy and Vivi then? I think it's a chance, but it's like arguably wait and see. But now I think it's time that we discuss the one, love interest that it seems me and Lucky disagree on, if you will. Hold on. Oops. Let's see.
Your number 2 is laughable. That's why I'm just like,
okay.
Really?
Let's see. Arguably, we'll get to that in a minute, and that is Boa Hancock.
Listen, guys, I get it. She's hot. She's got all the things you want in a woman. I get it. But how many times? I'm going to leave this out straight for Blue, so just so he gets it through his skull. How many times has Luffy rejected her?
Okay.
How many? How many? And like, don't even bring up. Well, you had Hinata, you had Orihime. She falls in that archetype. No, don't even get me started on that because Ichigo and Naruto, they were unaware of that. And before anyone says, "What about Goku?" Again, different ball game altogether, right?
Okay, Lucky, thank you.
Wait, no, I'm finishing on this because this is a joke. Okay, this is a huge joke. He Before anyone says, "Oh, he doesn't know what love is," bro rejected her twice. Okay,
Okay.
so no chance in hell.
Okay, Lucky, thank you for spoiling the part of the discussion I was hoping to have after the intro. But yeah.
You're welcome, guys. I saved y'all trouble.
Oh, Space has just basically said the one has a huge crush on the main character, which, yes. Okay. Ooh, Lucky, we can't just erase the possibility. We'll get to these comments in a second, but yeah, Boa Hancock, the one female character that potentially is the only one that confirmed to actually have feelings for Straw Hat Luffy, if you will. Now, granted, when I first met Boa Hancock, actually was hostile towards Luffy because Boa Hancock is the warlord, the most beautiful woman in the world, as many describe her, but she ends up hating all men. She can charm men and women alike, and with her abilities is able to turn them to stone. Many think this is good. The women of Amazon think this is because she inherited the curse of the Gorgon, but in truth, it is actually a devil fruit, and that she has just had that said it's a curse of a Gorgon because she's trying to hide the ugly truth. Unfortunately, Luffy saw her back. As a result, she determines that he must die. And after a bit of a conflict where, a few of Amazon citizens who revealed that they actually were the ones that brought Luffy in, she turns them to stone, which of course enrages Luffy. She'd sentence him to death. And even though she tries to get him to fall for her charms, Luffy is completely immune to them, much to her dismay, saying, "How is it possible for even any man to ignore her beauty," if you will? Which arguably at first thought was a fluke when she tried to turn him to stone in the bathhouse. But of course, Luffy mistaken that as the slow fruit. The only time when he seems to have been, afraid of ability coming up again, which is ironic because that is from the most biggest gag character, Foxy. So, yeah. So, as a result of that, she orders her sisters to fight Luffy. They battle for a bit. Eventually, Luffy gains the upper hand, but then one of their backs is nearly exposed. Luffy, shows Hancock how different he is from the most men she meets, covers the back as she knows that they would rather die than show it. As a result, the fight stops. She forces Luffy to choose between getting a ride off the island or saving those who stood up for him. Luffy, without hesitation, saves those Amazons, which surprises her. And then eventually she decides to have him take a look at the mark in the back before, where she sees it. And this is where the elder of the village, who is sort of like a mother figure to Boa Hancock, reveals to her that Luffy is actually, a few days ago, assaulted a celestial dragon, much to her shock, because the world is not allowed to do that, because if you do, an admiral will come after you, and you're pretty much screwed, pretty much. So there's a shock in that. And eventually, Boa Hancock reveals to Luffy her past of being a slave of the celestial dragon, and the mark on her back is proof of this slavery, if you will. After exposing the story, Hancock he's showing her vulnerable side, thinking Luffy might end up hating her for this, but Luffy does not, and ends up revealing he just more despises celestial dragons. As a result, she ends up falling in love with him, having at first the Amazon leader's sickness of love sickness, if you will. Corny, I know. The Amazon leader, if they fall in love, they gain a love sickness over the fact they can't be with the man they love. But as a result of Luffy's brother being about to be executed, and Hancock needing to attend the warlords in order to fight at the war to make sure the execution goes in hand, Luffy asks her to take him to Imperial Down, as her warlord privileges allows her to have a quick visit there, and it allows him to sneak into the prison to try and rescue his brother before the conflict starts. And as we see throughout the Marine saga, Hancock has been helping Luffy either being captured by Smoker, giving him the key to unlock his brother's handcuffs, and making sure that the Marines do not pursue him when Law picks him up after the battle has taken place, and of course the fate of his brother and all that stuff, and hiding him in Amazon Lily to heal, and then taking him to the island where he trains and all that stuff. So basically, Hancock has, of course, been like a very big ally. All that stuff. And, of course, as time goes on, has the desire to marry Luffy. But as you've pointed out, Luffy is not really interested in marrying her and all that. And as a result, but Hancock is not dissuaded. Even now, it's still infatuated. And after when the warlords were disbanded, and the island was attacked by both the Marines and the Blackbeard pirates, she concludes that she can't stay there, and she concludes that she wants to go and meet up with Luffy at last, signifying that at some point they're going to meet once again. Now, how that interaction will end up happening remains to be seen, but at the very least, Boa Hancock at some point is going to probably end up helping Luffy in the final war at the very least. Now, how that will be, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, so like I said, that seems to be the case. The strongest case is the fact that Hancock is the one female character amongst this list to confirm to actually have feelings for Luffy. And as Space has said here, given the fact that one has a huge crush on the main character, which aka Hinata Ochika or Hime Noel Chi-Chi, and then saying to you, Lucky, you can't erase the possibility of Boa Hancock being the main love interest, though. So there's all that cases, but you have already stated why you're against this.
Mm-hmm.
Arguably,
and I stand firm by that.
Yes. Arguably, oops, sorry, my TV is...
Search results.
A stupid audio thing on my TV. But as you can probably tell, basically the thing against this relationship is the fact that Luffy does not seem to be interested in marrying Boa Hancock.
Dude,
at first, it's...
Okay, quite literally, and it's a ship you hate the most. There's the same reason behind Sasaki. Same reason, yet somehow that happened too.
Let's see. Okay, arguably, I'd say Boa Hancock's more of like
Just saying.
Okay, Lucky. I'd probably say Boa Hancock's more of like the sort of well, I guess maybe not necessarily like the well, an Irish like shipping back, which to some people's surprise, I actually did ship Sasusaku, Ichi, Hime, and Nahina back in the day. Mostly because it's like
okay, I got a controversial take. I buy Narihina more than I do Luffy and Boa Hancock. I'll say that.
Ooh, you're crossing the lines there, Lucky. But arguably because like back then, mindset of girl having crush means that blah 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 should be the thing. But I would say not considering the fact that I think arguably it's the male characters that end up deciding who they should be with and all that. Mm-hmm. But because of course male characters are the ones important. And spacing Sasuke Sakura is a debate onto itself, and I disagree with some of Blue Star's points. That is a pretty. I'll get to that in a bit. That is just a bit of discussion going on with the Walkie Talkie podcast Discord, Lucky, but I'm not going to go into that right now. But yeah, arguably, this was like back in the day. I was like shipping that just for that reason, and. But yeah, but of course that has I become a bit of a less of that type of shipper, if you will.
Also, is no one gonna address the age difference?
Yeah, I'll get to the age difference. Let's see. At worst, Boa Hancock's gonna be like Himatoka from My Hero Academia. Okay, I'll get to that in a bit, Lucky. But yeah, arguably the main reason that it's against this ship is the fact that Luffy is not interested in the idea, at the very least, marrying her, but who knows? But at some point, we're going to see, let's see, now if that's going to be the same case when they meet up again, who knows? At the very least, we've seen at least two former Amazon leaders, let's see, fall in love and and left the island and come back. Granted, one of them has succeeded in possibly marrying the person they loved, and that's, of course, was surprisingly Shaki from Shadi Archipelago, who is the wife of Rayleigh, the Dark King. Now, granted, that, of course, is more of the right hand of the Pirate King than the actual Pirate King. But I don't think Boa Hancock's going to fall in love with Zoro. Arguably, let's see, the only thing, so at the moment, Luffy is sort of like, said no, but we'll have to wait and see if that's still going to be the case when, let's see, you get Boa Hancock interacting with Luffy. At the very least, we're going to probably see some very interesting interactions at the very least, as we've seen with the S-Snake of the Seraphim. Let's see, at the very least, the clone of Boa Hancock. Also, funny enough, seems to have inherited Boa Hancock's feelings for Luffy, as it's the only Seraphim that will listen to Luffy, as we see. So at the very least, we're probably going to see a clash between Boa Hancock and her clone at the very least. So, who knows? But at the moment...
I just think it's Blue wanting a cat fight.
Yeah. What? No, not really. I'm just thinking that's probably like... Okay. Let's see. Okay, Lucky. Then who do you think is going to end up fighting S-Snake besides Boa Hancock?
No, I see a fight happening, obviously, but just it being over something so trivial as a matter of love.
Let's see.
That I'm just like, huh. Okay.
I don't think that's going to be the main aspect, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's brought up in some ritzy manner because of, like, you know, Boa Hancock being the fangirl, if you will. But anyway, but yeah, I would definitely say the one bit of a etsy problem you might say is, of course, the bit of the age gap, which Luffy, when introduced to Boa Hancock, was 17. Boa Hancock was, I think, 28. Granted, time skip, he's now 19 and now 30, which technically you could say is now more of a, I guess you could say the legal age, though you'll probably get some people joking, at least an average is about 16 being the legal age of Japan, which is also, I would say, another reason why Shirohoshi and Rebecca, not really so much for, let's say, Luffy, because he's 19 and they're 16, but we're not getting to that. But arguably there's a bit of an age gap, but I don't know. I guess it really depends. Let's see how Oda views that, because after all, what Sanji's possible love interest that's going to happen, Charlotte Pudding is 16 and he's like 20 or something, right? So,
but even that, see that one I can buy more because, and I say that because we know that they both do like each other. There's a difference there.
But yeah. But who knows? There is like, let's see, age gap is like possibly one thing, but we'll have to see if that, let's see, Oda will play that factor in. But at the moment, the biggest thing against this ship is the fact that Luffy has already rejected Hancock, and that's the only thing.
Not once, but twice.
And we'll have to wait and see if a third time will finally put an end to it. But now, of course. But now, of course, we get to the final one. The one I think, and arguably the one I've come to more ship. Let's see now. Let's see, despite what Lucky thinks, is, of course, arguably the sexiest, let's see, shonen female protagonist alive, Nami. The navigator of the Straw Hats.
Listen, for me, Luffy, Nami, ride or die hard for me since 04. So.
Yeah, basically introduced as the navigator of the crew, though, let's see, well, at first a thief that wanted to team up with Luffy, but of course, she at first seemed excited until she learned that Luffy was, of course, a pirate, as she hated pirates due to her past, in which her adoptive mother was killed by Arlong, who kidnapped her and forced her to be the navigator, striking a deal to try and save the village, but after double-crossing her, which at first she double-crossed the Straw Hats. But let's see, she eventually came to ask Luffy for help, as she believes he was the only one that can now help her. Let's see, Luffy and other Straw Hats from the East Blue Saga defeated the Arlong pirates, freeing them, and she officially became a member of the crew. Often, let's see, being the voice of reason for Luffy whenever he was doing something stupid, if you will. And throughout this sort of journey, so you've seen like the sort of bond of like Luffy and Nami grow, such as Luffy's concern for her when she was like, ill, after the events of Little Garden and in Drum Kingdom. And her helping Luffy at like the climax of Skypiea, as she helped Luffy travel to up into the sky, into the clouds to help land the final blow against Eno, or at least allowing that to happen. And of course, a few other instances, but arguably, if there are three main characters, if you're going to say the three main characters of the One Piece are, of course, Nami, Luffy, and Zoro. So arguably, there's all kinds of things that connect Luffy and Nami's bond. And Space says Nami, the love interest, who everyone wants to be the main love interest, like Sakura, Rukia, Bloomer. I can't think of any examples for My Hero or Black Clover. Well, technically, I would say Noelle would be the main love interest for Black Clover, but
My
arguably,
hero is Ochiko. Like that's straight up.
Yeah, but yes, Nami is arguably the sort of tsundere type relationship, if you will, where she will get mad and will punish Luffy if he does anything stupid. Which not often happens, particularly when Luffy endangers the crew with his reckless antics. Arguably, she's also one of the few people that seems to actually terrify Luffy and even put him in his place, if you will. But yeah, there's a lot to go for Nami all day. If we go with every sort of discussions, at the very least, aspects that seem to support Nami having an interest in Luffy is the fact that she seems to be very interested in Luffy's family, especially being shocked by how so many of them seem to be so many infamous people, such as, his brother being the 2nd Division commander of the Whitebeard Pirates. His other adoptive brother, Sabo, being 2nd commander of the Revolutionaries. His grandfather being the hero of the Marines. And his father being sort of like the most wanted criminal in the world, Dragon, leader of the Revolutionary Army. That is one aspect in that favor. Arguably, she's also one of the biggest supporters of his, goal of becoming the Pirate King, even refusing, to say that Luffy will never not be Pirate King, even in the face of death when threatened by Uchiha. I did say that right?
Yeah.
Uchiha.
Yeah.
And seemingly getting blushed and maybe a hint of jealousy when Renji kissed Luffy to suck out the poison that he had just ingested.
Oh, 100% she got jealous. 100%.
So yeah, there is a lot of things going in like Luffy and Nami's favor. And there's even some Outworld references in the fact that Oda has basically married a cosplayer for Nami. Well, technically the actress who played Nami in a live-action performance.
But that's saying a lot too, because if Nami's kind of based off, well, it's the other way around technically, but like if he married someone cosplaying Nami, and Oda's often said this, he often describes himself as Luffy. So you want to bring that outside reference in? There's that too. Plus, I don't know if you were aware of this. In like the early drafts, like when Oda was prepping up One Piece, one of the concepts he's had was Luffy being like attracted to Nami. And I was like, that's fascinating. Huh.
Let's see. Now, granted, there are some early aspects where you say that Oda was perhaps considering that, particularly in the Alabasta saga, where you had Bon Clay transform into Nami and sort of striptease a bit before they all got beat up. And then later, when all the guys went to spy in the bathhouse, and Nami did her happiness punch, if you will. They're all knocking down. Though Oda says that that's just more of Usopp being a bad influence on Luffy. Let's see. So there's at least that aspect to consider. Now, I think with all that things, we got to discuss some of the aspects against Luffy and Nami. And we're going to have to go with this comment with spacing. Now, Luffy and Nami is one of those most possible love interests, but could be one of those relationships that remains a close friends, like Boomer, Sakura, and Rukia. Now, arguably, that does seem to be the aspect of the fact that many people, of course, would compare to the other members of the Big Three, as the fact that, arguably the most tsundere-like, characters in those aspects, did not end up with, with like the main characters, instead ended up with a sort of like rival, if you will, such as
Hold on.
Vegeta. Hold on, Lucky, let me finish. Vegeta with Boomer, Sakura Sasuke, and Rukia with Renji. But anyway, go on.
You talk about the whole tsundere aspect. What about Lucy with Natsu? What about that?
Oh yeah, that is one of the. Granted, granted, Natsu and Lucy have yet to be officially together, but it's pretty much down.
But here's the thing. Based on Hero's writing, both with Rave Master and with Eden Zero, 100% that's the route we're gonna go.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, that is true. The other devil's advocate, some might say, is the fact that even though, the creator's wife might be based off of like the main female character, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to happen, as we know that Sakura was basically based off of Kishimoto's wife. And heck, even Oda pointed that out when I think Kishimoto had his wedding, saying how she looked very much like Sakura. But I think that's more due to the fact of editorial interference with Naruto, if you will.
I find it so funny how you're having this devil's advocate.
Yeah, I figured I have to bring it up, Lucky, just for the sake of discussion. Yeah. I'm not saying I agree with this, like a devil's advocate. I pretty much
I'm just saying some people will kind of point that out as like, wow, that's double standards much for. I'm saying that's the vibe that's going to come off of that.
Let's see. Space saying, wasn't Lucy the main love interest, unlike Nami? Lucy was definitely the main female character, and there was implied there's implied romantic interest with, like, I believe, Natsu and Lucy, especially in a few special chapters that Hero makes, but it's not being confirmed yet. But it's pretty much just about if that thing. Anyway, now that we've just gone those bits out here, the one thing that might prevent a Luffy and Nami relationship from happening is something that happened in Thriller Bark. I'm referring, of course, to the sort of whole Abazon, the sort of invisible pervert, kidnapping Nami to be his bride, if you will. And when Luffy was informed, like, okay, someone wants to marry Nami, Luffy was sort of made a sort of funny face saying, ooh, marry Nami, he's brave. But he's showing that Luffy finds the idea of anyone marrying Nami to at least be, marrying Nami to be a brave thing, and perhaps finding that Nami being a wife to someone as a terrifying prospect. That is probably the only thing I'd say in the manga that goes against possibly Luffy x Nami. Is that Luffy finds the idea of marrying Nami a terrifying thing. But anyway, Lucky, since I've brought that argument up, how would you like to respond to it?
That's why I think it'd be kind of ironic, actually, for him to end up with her. It's like he makes that claim, and then that's what happens to him. It's like,
yeah, but yeah. Other cases to say is that whenever you get One Piece merchandise and double-colored spreads and all that stuff, Nami is always portrayed as the queen. Luffy's always portrayed as the king, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So there is that as well.
Also, I'm surprised we never brought up the movies, but
yeah,
if we look at the one movie Oda was super heavily involved in, Strong World, that movie itself was a big parallel to Arlong Park in many ways.
Oh yeah, and but to be fair, I have yet to really watch that movie. But
what?
I know. I've been
Jesus Christ, Blue! Skypiea, I was on your case, man. Now this?
That's it. I've been meaning to watch it, Lucky. I've been meaning to watch it. Unfortunately, I can't find DVDs.
Oh, but if it was
or
Boa
on
Hancock, you would have 100% seen that one beforehand.
That's it. Okay, let's see, Lucky. Let's see, not get to that, but yeah, it's a movie I need to watch, and as arguably we need to discuss. Let's see, perhaps a movie discussion stream of all the movies that Oda's been involved in. But yeah, but from what I can tell from the clips and pieces of it, it seems to have a very strong emphasis on Luffy and Nami's relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So there is that aspect as well. And there is something I just remembered. It's that there was at one point a shonen special jump cover where you had all the main characters, at the time wearing like these blue swimwears, where the male and female ones for like respective series, which Nami was selected for like the females, and Luffy was of course selected for the males, if you will.
Yep.
So like which also that seemed to also confirm that at least to Kubo, he considered Ichigo the main character and Orihime the main female, Naruto and Sakura. But yeah, stuff like that. Let's see. Space going. The main issue with all these romance relationships could be that Luffy doesn't want any romantic relationships, aka what Oda said in an interview before. And Space saying using movies as evidence. That sure reminds me of something Cough fans use Roto Ninja as proof of Narasaku. Cough. You're crossing fire there.
I was gonna say it, Blue. I'm like, if you're letting that slide, I don't know.
Yeah, see. No, I am not letting that slide. But no.
Also, since he wants to start something, I'll bring up another movie, Gold.
Yeah. Okay. I have not seen that one.
Gee, what is up with you, Blue?
I've seen Stampede and Red. I need to see the other two. And see.
You disappoint me.
All right, let's see. I gotta get into a One Piece movie marathon. All right. But yeah, go on.
In film Gold, here's a fun fact. So it's another movie. I'm not. And Gold's weird because I don't know how much of a huge involvement he had in, but he did have involvement in that. Basically, one of the staff members in the movie asked Oda if, like, hey, do you think if we add a little bit of romance in the movie, would it be a good idea? And he said it would be a good idea. So he wrote a story behind the villain having a romance with Stella, right?
Uh-huh.
And he actually rewrote the whole climax scene and drew the storyboard himself.
Okay.
And had it to where what happens with the villain's love interest is put in a very similar position that Nami's in the climax.
Okay.
And that was all done by Oda himself.
All right. Anyway, but as a response to this comment here, I will also say that before the Road to Ninja movie came out, and you got like those bits with like Hinata being a sort of yandere thing, you got a lot of Narahina fans excited at that prospect that that movie would boost their ship. But
well, of course, Blue. Don't you know how sexy Road to Ninja Hinata is? Ooh la la.
Oh yes, you're getting it. You never hear Narahina fans shut up about that. But yeah, but anyway, so that little bit there. But I think as of course we discussed all the female characters, and like likely with Nami being the most likely, and probably will possibly be the end game if that happens. There is one last aspect to see is the fact that no one, let's see, might end up being the case. And let's see, as I think Space did a comment aside, there is the discussion that Luffy might be asexual.
Which Oda has never stated.
Yeah.
Never. It's always been a fan thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I've read I've read all the SBS, I've read everything Oda has said. The term asexual never brought up once.
Yeah.
Never.
I believe the word. I believe. Let's see. The word penis has been brought up like 30 times. I believe.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. But that's mostly jokes and like if the devil fruits would also affect that. Let's see. Regards. But inappropriate jokes aside. Let's see. But yeah. That's a very there's one aspect of their. Let's see, One Piece might just not have Luffy end up with anyone because
And that's a possibility. Like if he doesn't end up with anyone, okay, fine.
yeah, as arguably there's at least one golden rule that Oda at least seemed to have set in stone, and that is the fact there'd be no romance amongst the crew members. As Space says, hasn't Oda stated the only thing the Straw Hats love is adventure? Basically,
That's him being cheeky.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing: if you see the way how that comment was being made by Oda, he doesn't say it with confidence. Like he says, like, "Well, of course they are in love," and he goes like, "Dot dot dot," with adventure. So whenever anyone brings that up, they're misremembering exactly how that was quoted.
Fair enough. At the very least, it seems that Oda is not, wanting to write ongoing romance within the story. Granted, I do recall that when the live action was taking place, one of the rules he gave to the live action was that not to do romance among the Straw Hat crew cast, which which is interesting because I think of amongst the live action crew, I think Nami and Zoro's actors had quite a good chemistry of their interactions. But who knows? But it's possible that if Oda did not put that rule there, those two might have ended up together, if you will. But that's not the case. But like I said, it seems more of Oda just doesn't want to do an active, ongoing romance. And if I recall,
it's fine actually. I'm actually perfectly fine with that.
But yeah. But interesting enough, I think there's also another aspect where Oda said in one interview where a bunch of, I think he said, fangirls wanted him to write more romance in, and he was like, nope, not doing that, if you recall that one.
But you have to keep in mind, that was early, super early. Like East Blue Oda. Oda now, and particularly post, Whole Cake, different case altogether.
Yeah, at the very least, Oda at the very least doesn't mind at least writing romances for Straw Hats with those outside of course, the crew. The first example, of course, is none other than Captain Usopp and, of course, Kaya from...
Which I'm glad... Okay, that's an obvious one. I don't care what anyone says. That one's the obvious ship. And I do like that the live action one actually had them, reciprocating. That I didn't like.
That's it, yeah. I'll get to this comment later. The thing is, so far only Bo Hancock has grown a crush on Luffy, and that's it. But yeah, arguably with that was at least what would be the case. But as we said, with
if we want to talk about girls having a crush, what about Nisekoi? Let's bring that one up, okay? Because, and this, Blue, I like Hosaki, okay? But even I knew it was going to be Raku and Chitoge. I knew that from the get-go.
Yeah. The two forced to be in a relationship who had first hated each other, falling in love. Classic, romance story for shonen. I mean, shoujo. Was it a mix of both? Let's see, but anyway, but of course, Usopp and Kaya, that seemed to be the only one that happened. But after the Whole Cake Island saga, you had Chopper seemingly in love with a dear Minx nurse, taking a lot of inspiration from Sanji's behavior, from the way he's been reacting. Now, maybe not crossing the line just yet, with some of Sanji's more worse aspects. Sanji having a very deep romance with Pudding, though there's also some that argue Sanji with Viola or Violet, from Dressrosa, Rebecca's aunt. And, of course, many think Zoro has, Hiyori from Wano, though there's also, Zoro and Tashiki, though, granted, I'm not sure how that one is faring these days, after revealing that Kaya, who very much, is very similar to Tashiki, is actually Zoro's distant cousin, if you will. So I'm not... private comment saying, okay, keep going. So, arguably, there's been some romance with the Straw Hats. And granted, so far it's outside. Let's see the romance between Let's see. It seems Lucky has disappeared. So it seems like I'm gonna have to keep going by myself for a bit. Yeah. So arguably the Straw Hats. Let's see. Outside of the romance, that seems to be the case. Oh, LuckyRave is okay. You're back, Lucky.
Yeah.
So yeah, at the very least, we've had at least 3 outside romance, possibly 3 or 4 outside romance with the Straw Hats. So at the very least, Oda's loosened up to that. The only thing is, are we going to get some inside? Granted, there's only like 2 possible options. One is Luffy with Nami, and the other is either, which I think some, depending on who you'd ask, is either Nami, not Nami, Nico Robin with possibly Frankie or Jinbei, given some people's saying their interactions. But yeah, at the moment, let's see. As we have seen so far, Nami has not really taken any interest in any of the male Straw Hats crew. Granted, she has manipulated Sanji in his pervy feelings for her, and of course, Zoro. It's just more of Nami just manipulating Zoro. So arguably, Luffy seems to be like the most likely one there. But yeah. Arguably, one aspect I would definitely say that as a result of, let's see, Nami, let's see, it's very likely that One Piece will not have Luffy get with anyone, which in some ways, given how what happened to like Naruto and Bleach with like who they ended up with caused, let's see, heated comments in the fandom. In fact, arguably, I think it did some damage to both fandoms. Well, mostly Naruto, I'd say, but I think that's because of how focused romance was in Naruto. Ooh.
It's also, you have to consider this too. By the time you got to the war arc, no one gave a shit about the story. I hate to say it. No one gave 2 shits about the story of Naruto past the Pain arc. I hate to say it. That's the truth. And you've heard me say this. Naruto after Pain, downhill. Sure, and look, and I get it. You've had some moments here and there. The Kushina stuff, great. After that, though, again, it's like finding like shards of gold in like a horse's shit.
Yeah, arguably, yes. Let's see. When Naruto was ongoing at the same time as One Piece, they were arguably considered the 2 gold standards of shonen manga. But at some point, Naruto sort of started dividing its fan base with the Kage-sama, and by the time of the war arc, you had a very, very loud and open criticisms of Naruto and some of the decisions it take. And with many, the ships were like the final nail in the coffin. Granted, Oda, as far as I can tell, has not done that at all. In fact, most people have either said One Piece has just remained as consistently good as it has always been, or if not better with this final saga. It depends on how you ask it. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Would you agree with that assessment, Lucky? Let's see.
I'll say this, and you know me because of how long we've known each other, and I say this more so pacing-wise. Dressrosa? Look, I love the Dressrosa arc, but oh my god. That was like being like stuck in 4 years of hell. Like, I kept thinking like, okay, I like what's going on, but why are we moving at such a snail's pace with this?
Arguably, arguably that is one of the few criticisms. Dressrosa being the one that was mostly freaking on the pacing issue, really. But
4 years of Dressrosa. Remember that, guys. 4 years.
Which that was also partly due to the fact of, I think, Oda's health starting to take effect into that.
Well, yeah, that too.
But other than that, I think most people have enjoyed.
And look, don't get me wrong. Dressrosa definitely, I'll say this, it's a much better read, like from a binge / volume reread standpoint. Obviously, yeah.
Ongoing weekly, it was arguably the most controversial One Piece arc.
Hell, you should have heard this guy. This guy here was complaining the most about One Piece.
I was at the time. I will admit, I was at the time. Though, granted, I have, let's see, toned down on that sort of criticism, especially looking back at some of the things it foreshadowed in the arc. It's like, okay, this is, I see what it was doing now, but I'll give you, yes, anyway, few comments saying, of course, Oda could take notes from most recent mangas like My Hero and Black Clover now. There is one aspect, and spacing. Bleach shipping was a mess due to the anime adding fuel to the fire with Ichigo X Rukia when it wasn't in the manga. Arguably, that is kind of interesting.
Well, here's the thing. That also goes to Kubo too, because Kubo is also is known for like writing poetry, right? So a lot of like the poetry in Bleach is written from Ichigo to Rukia or Rukia to Ichigo, vice versa, right? Whether it's romantic or not, again, that's up to you. But like that's a thing.
Yeah. Let's see. I do, of course, find it a bit interesting how, let's see, Studio Period seem to favor like the Ichirukia ship, while for Bleach, which is the sort of Naosaku-like ship for it, while in Naruto they favored the Nahina ship, in which
again, I have to keep reminding you about this.
Yeah.
2 separate divisions.
Yes. Yes. In many ways, I wish the Bleach staff were actually working on the Naruto one than the actual.
Because again, the guy behind Bleach was the same guy that did the Yu Yu Hakusho. So
yeah, arguably yes. Naruto
which by the way, anyone giving Period shit, go there. That to me was peak Period at its highest.
Let's see. So basically, depending on the staff member of Period, it depends. It can be either really good or really sucky. But anyway,
Black Clover, I would say, is pretty decent. I mean, look, don't get me wrong. It was kind of rough early on with how it was adapted, but after a certain point, it did pick up its groove. So
okay, let's see. Space saying, of course, the most recent manga has kind of stopped doing this bad love stuff like My Hero Academia and Jujutsu Kaisen. Arguably, yes.
JJK was an interesting one. I will admit that one was interesting.
Arguably, let's see, some mangas have been put off of doing like a full-on love. Let's see, the stories that happened during the big freeze time because of how controversial and how much damage they've done to this.
Or
yeah,
go to Hiro Mashima. I must say that. See how he handles romance. It's not a difficult thing to tackle.
Yes, but I think that'll be an aspect when we discuss let's see a stream down the line, Lucky, but yeah. Arguably, but yeah. Anyway, in conclusion, hold on, let me see. In conclusion, I'd say in terms of all the romances, let's see, Nami and Luffy's most likely if it does happen. If not,
that's a keyword is if.
Yeah. Let's see, Luffy might just not end up with anyone, but either way, I think one thing that One Piece has over the other two manga is that, let's see, at least in terms of the big three, and even some of the later manga, is that due to the fact that there's more focus on the romance of adventure than the romance of like the current characters, he's managed to avoid some of the controversies that sort of damaged damaged the other mangakas at the very least. So but yeah. But nevertheless, let's see, One Piece, regardless, is a manga series that I think will see continue to exist in the quality that it has. And what I can tell, the final saga is looking very promising. But we'll just have to wait and see what roles all these female characters will play in that saga. But yeah. Anyway, we got one more comment from Spacing. Like, My Hero Academia has only one main love interest, which is Choco. There isn't any second love interest unless you want to count Mei or Toga for some reason.
Yeah, like Ochako was like, and again, and it's funny because this was 11 years ago when I got into it, but like I knew from chapter 3, yeah, that's the shit. Like I knew straight from there, and that was before Naruto ended too, or like weeks before it. I would say.
Yeah.
Okay, so I didn't actually get a chance to mention my top 3. Now, 2 of them you already talked about.
All right.
I'll tell you this: 3 is not even Boa. Boa's not even on that list.
Okay.
My number 3, you're gonna find this one interesting, is Uta from Film Red.
Yes. That is, yes, Uta. For those who do not know, Uta is, let's
Like
see,
she is what I would consider Orihime from Bleach. That
uh,
is what she is to Luffy. She is the childhood friend.
yeah, Uta is, of course, hold on, let me see if I can find a Google image
She
of
was
Uta.
Shanks' adopted daughter.
Let's see, Uta images. Which one should I pick? Let's see. Hold
I'm
on.
actually surprised that one slipped on your radar.
Well, yeah, I kind of forgot. Let's see. Yes and no. Let's see. Arguably, I probably should have picked this one as, let's see, ones that are unlikely, but let's see. Hold on. Let's see. But yes. Hold on. Let me just see if I can find it. Ooh, whoops. Let's see. Oop. Hold on, I'm just about to share screen. Let's see. Jujutsu's love interest only appears in one chapter and only appears again in the volumes extra. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's see. But yeah.
And then I don't give Gege that. Like, he at least, established, Yuji's preferences and, of course, like, just
Oh yeah.
that bit of dynamic with. Oh my god, why am I blanking on her name?
Let's see. Yes, Space going. Yes. There's the movie love interest that people arguably love more than the actual love interest. So yeah, arguably Uta, of course, is like I had said, a movie character that was introduced into One Piece Red, that was giving us a first glimpse of some of Shanks' past, if you will, and of course the childhood friend. Granted, the events of the movie itself are not canon, and there's a few things that would contradict. Let's see.
At the very least, Uta's fate is
Is but
not canon.
but she
The backstory, on the other hand,
is a canon character.
yeah, the backstory for sure is something. And as far as we know, Uta's whereabouts are unknown.
Yeah. Let's see. Now, arguably in the movie, it's implied that she might be dead, but as like I said, let's see, the movie's not canon. Same case with Strong World. It's not canon, but the backstory of it with like Shiki the Golden Lion is actually canon. Now, if Uta's going to play any role down the line, I'm not entirely sure. But at the very least, let's see, you had that one cameo of Uta showing up, so she is technically canon in the manga. Now, granted, at the moment, it doesn't really seem like there's going to be any way you could have Uta play a role right now, but
I think it'll probably be whenever Shanks like gets in the picture and like actually interacts with Luffy. I think is when we'll get the Uta stuff. I think.
So there is a possibility that you get Uta and maybe, I don't know, that gets brought up, but the only thing wondering is like let's see, more of like is Oda's actually going to delve on this thing or not? But we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, she could be very different, of course, from what we've seen portrayed in the One Piece Red film. So yeah, this is arguably the only other character you could argue being a sort of love interest to Luffy, but arguably it possibly that Oda's done what he wants with this character in the film Red and may not bring it up. That's the only reason why I didn't really consider it as one of the possibilities, Lucky.
Yeah. But that's why she's my number 3.
But yeah, the sort of classic childhood friend. And arguably, if she does play a bit more of a role in the story, I could possibly see it happening.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's see. Now that gone and said, let's see. Saying that this reminds me of Melissa Shield, the main girl from the My Hero Academia movie 1 that was shipped with Zuka for years at the ending, and before 431, only few to that fire. arguably, yeah, there's that, let's see, sort of aspect of like Luffy and Uta, let's see, Luffy and Uta, if you will.
But Melissa was no childhood friend.
Yeah. So, but yeah, oops, but yeah, arguably, I suppose that let's see, now that you mentioned that, arguably, yeah. So there's like, let's see, arguably Luffy and Nami of all the sort of like main, let's see, boy, main girl ones, I think has the best chance of not having anything like that screws it up, like editors interfering or some other love interest taking over. But at the very least, let's see, you have to just see if Oda will or will not let's see, do an epilogue showing Luffy and Nami together, if you will. At best, and the way I see it, the epilogue that Oda's more likely to do is have Luffy pass on the Straw Hat to someone in a similar manner to what happened with Shanks at the beginning of Chapter 1. Or you just see Luffy as a pirate, full grown, and continuing on his sailing. Similar to like that first Romance Dawn one shot, if you know what I mean.
Uh-huh.
But yeah. But those are basically all the ships. We discussed their likelihood, and let's see, we've given our thoughts on them. Anyway, Lucky, thank you for joining me on this discussion.
It was a lot of fun.
And thank you, Space, for your comments, even though there's some of them that were, I don't agree with, but or even Lucky agreed with, but nevertheless, they were interesting for the discussion. But yeah, but anyway, that's what we were decided to discuss with Valentine's, which is arguably it's the second sort of shipping discussion that you and I have had, besides that big one we had on your channel a few years back. Whether or not you plan to do another one again anytime soon, I have no idea. But at the very least, the next time we discuss One Piece, it'll be a very particular arc in One Piece, at least. But yeah. But anyway, I think with all that said, I'm Blue Star Saber.
I'm LuckyRave.
And we are signing off. Thank you, everyone, for listening in. Hope you enjoyed what we had to say. And goodbye for now.
Laters.
Ooh. No.